they might open a slippery slope for themselves, because if they honestly believe this man, prior to even being pulled from the vehicle, took a lethal dose of a drug, wouldn't they have a higher standard of care to get him medical treatment if they had him subdued, instead of spending 9+ minutes kneeling on his neck?
Darrell Cohen, do you think the judge allows it in?
I think the judge has a lot to think about. The judge has to consider what the social situation is in Minneapolis. Big deal. The judge has to realize that yes, George Floyd is not technically on trial, but he actually is on trial, because his pattern of conduct from the past is something that normally is let in when you're trying someone who is on trial for a crime or crimes. In this instance, George Floyd is the victim, but he had a previous history. I think there's a good chance the judge will allow at least some of it in, because the one thing that the prosecution does not want is a conviction that is appealed and the appeal is upheld. They want to make sure this is clean and over. And the more the judge lets in for the defense, the less likely an appeal will be successful.
Well, let me also say this too, Benny, and I'm going to pick up on what Heather said earlier about a slippery slope. From the evidence and stuff that we have seen in news reports, etc., if we open up George Floyd and try to put him on trial, I think it's also fair game to open up all of the officers, especially Officer Chaven'S, all of his arrest misconduct that tons of people up there have alleged against him. And so at that point, you get into just a throwing of stuff against the wall. And I think if it's on a laser focus, that wouldn't be necessary. But if we're going to say that you need to look at George Floyd's arrest and he's not even on trial, let's look at Derek Chauvin's his human resources report about acts of violence that he has perpetrated against other people in Minnesota as well.
Great point, Judge. All right. Friday's the night. We're going to talk about this tomorrow night. We've got a live report from Minnesota, but then Friday, Judge and everyone else will be in court. We'll continue to cover this case for you. When we come back, folks, rideshare guys.